Alright, in this video, I'm going to be covering the tomatoes running for the 2025 season. Just like in the last few previous years, I've made videos on the seeds. I'm going to help people make, seed choices with so many options out there. So in this video, I'm going to do it a little bit differently. Some of these tomatoes I've covered like 2 years in a row. So on those varieties, I'm going to go through them fairly quickly and just do basically what the pros and cons of them are. And if you want more in depth, check out, the year's previous videos. I don't want to waste anyone's time and just ramble the same stuff I've already put out there before. So let's start with two that are kind of going to be related to each other just because of their origin. And that is the Black Beauty tomato first, which is what I've grown. I've covered this one multiple times, so I'm going to keep it fairly simple. It is an open pollinated variety. You can save the seeds from it. It's an indeterminate. It's a very dark tomato. The way you know that it's ripe, the bottom is still going to be green, and it will start to turn pink and then red, just like a regular tomato will. Pros are its color. It's really cool. I mean, it's a very dark tomato on the outside. It has kind of like a rich reddish purple, I don't know if it's called purple, like just a rich red dark tone internally. The flavor's really great. The cons of it are it cracks really easily. So the shelf life, not the best, obviously, if you have a crack on the bottom of the tomato. Some of the things you can do about that is simply just pick it as it starts to turn pink on the bottom, let it sit in the counter and ripen a little bit more. But if you really wait to get that full ripeness right off the vine, especially if you get like even just a somewhat decent amount of rain, cracking is really problematic with the Black Beauty tomatoes. But I'm going to continue to grow them because the flavor is great, and yeah, I just like them. So one of the most related was this new variety I'm growing. New variety for me, I've never grown it before. And that's the Wild Boar Beauty King. Both the Black Beauty and this tomato both originate from the Wild Boar farm. So the Wild Boar farm is a company. It was started by this individual, and they basically, or he, I would say probably a teen now as large as it is, has spent time breeding all these specific different tomatoes, starting from like an heirloom base. They're not, I don't think any of them are actually hybrids. I think all the ones you could actually save seeds from them and reproduce the same thing. He focuses really on unique looks, like how typically multicolored stripes, patterns, as well as really good flavor. They do have a website, wildboar.com tomatoes. You can check it out and order directly from them if you want to and see all the different varieties that they have. But they also sell their tomatoes on a whole bunch of different seed companies. So anyway, the Wild Boar Beauty King is a large tomato, 12 to 20 ounces, indeterminate. It's a red and yellow bicolor tomato, focusing more on like a yellow tomato, as the description is, with flashy red stripes, but it's got really good flavor. It is a cross between the big rainbow and the green zebra. I've grown the green zebra before. I think it has fantastic flavor. I think it's one of actually the best tasting tomatoes there is. It's a smaller green tomato that gets stripes, like 3 to 4 ounces. I don't grow it though, because it is very disease prone for me, and it always ends up being a very sickly, problematic plant. I'm overgrowing things that are a struggle. But anyway, so I'm interested to try this. Like I said, it's going to be a large tomato, 12 to 20 ounces, so think beefsteak size. And, with having that green seal crop, I hope the flavor is really good on it. So that's a new variety I am growing this year. So we'll put those to the side. Let's do a variety I'm going back to after another variety didn't work out. And that's the Lemon Boy Hybrid. So this is the only hybrid tomato I'm growing. It's also an indeterminate. So last year I had mentioned I switched from the Lemon Boy to Lemon Boy Plus, which was an improved version of the Lemon Boy, supposed to have better flavor as well as more disease resistance. So I grew it last year, and I noticed that it had, it looked fine on the outside, but on the inside, it had a lot of discoloration spots, and like these dark discoloration parts inside of it. Now, almost like made it look like it was like bad, like going bad, but it wasn't. It just wasn't appealing, and I had so instead of being an improvement, it to me was a downgrade, and honestly not something I'd want to grow. So I'm going back to the regular Lemon Boy hybrid tomato instead of the Lemon Boy Plus hybrid. Great tomato to grow, by the way. As I've covered it before. Uh, really good shelf life. It's very bright yellow, very consistent size. Uh, not prone to cracking, disease resistance, heat resistant. Definitely good variety to grow. And I said that was the only hybrid tomato I'm growing. That actually isn't true because I forgot about the Jolene hybrid. This is the only actual true red tomato I'm growing. That's just red, medium size, 8 to 10 ounces. This is also the only determinate tomato I'm growing. Honestly, this whole determinate thing, I don't even care about anymore. This whole all determinate tomatoes, they said all the fruit at one time, and then determinates keep going. It's not true. Um, I, th- this tomato or other the Jolene hybrid, it produced tomatoes just as long as the indeterminate tomatoes do. In a perfect situation where you didn't have disease pressure, fungal pressure, pest pressure, you could realistically keep an indeterminate tomato going and going and going. Those get taller and taller and get absolutely huge and continue to produce more flowers and continuously produce more tomatoes. The reality of it is for most people, either A, your climate's going to kill it because of it gets cold, or your climate's going to kill it because it's too darn hot and they get fried. Either way, the tomatoes don't keep going, they get killed either way. So determinate varieties have some significant pros, and that is one, they're smaller, they're more compact, more bushy, so they're easier to contain. And most of them also tend to offer a lot of them like better disease and pressure resistance, especially the hybrid versions of them, and tend to be way better suited for people who are trying to can tomatoes because they do produce tomatoes faster and put more out at one specific time, and they start to slow down. But it's not everything is ripened once and then they're done. They really do. You have a fairly long window. Anyway, the Jolene hybrid, very heat resistant. That's exactly what it was meant for. It was designed to be able to withstand heat, pressure, disease pressure, and all the things that come with southeast pressure growing tomatoes. And it produces very consistent sized tomatoes, very good shelf life, and is a very strong plant. And if you've had a lot of frustration with other tomato plants, try growing it. You'll probably be happy with it. Once again, my approach is starting to change with gardening the more I do it, and I'm really focusing more on things that minimize my stress level and frankly just give better results. I'm tired of messing and wasting my time with things that are just beating your head up against the wall. We have really improved with so many different varieties that we make now. There's just no need to continue to suffer. Like, just try something else. So the Kellogg's breakfast tomato, this is one I'm also just like the Black Beauty. I'm going to continue to grow. Like, there'll never probably be a replacement for it. It is a large, indeterminate, open pollinated tomato. You could definitely get one of them to 2 pounds if you wanted to, 32 ounces. Over 1 pound, very easy. It's a very large beefsteak tomato. Shelf life is not great. I've covered this one before. I'm not going into great detail on it. Shelf life's not that great, but the flavor's really good. They're a pretty orange tomato. They do pretty well. They also make really good tomato soup for some reason. Obviously, it's going to be orange tomato soup instead of red. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's the mix of the moisture content to maybe the pectin levels. It could be the acidity, the pH of it, whatever it is. They really make really good tomato soup, and I'm going to continue to grow them. And one thing I'm going to cover here, it's not a tomato. It's in the family. It's not a tomato. I've never grown it before, and that is a tomatillo. And I'm growing them for one reason, and it's so I can make salsa verde. I've never made it before, but I want to make it and can it. So I'm going to grow tomatillo, and the variety I'm growing is Rio Grande Verde. I'm not really going to post a link on where to buy this one because it's so darn common. You can get it basically anywhere you're getting your seeds. So this particular variety is, like I said, is very common. you can pretty much get anywhere, pretty much carries this particular type of tomatillo. It's a turbinate variety. What I've read about it only gets around 2 feet tall. It's very bushy, but it produces actually some of the largest tomatillos out there, about 3 to 4 ounces in size, which is large for tomatillo. Very common, rated really well. And a lot of people say that also doesn't require staking because it only gets to a certain height, but if it gets too top heavy, you can stake it. So I don't stake my tomatoes. I use some really large tomato cages, not the ones that you would go buy at Lowe's or Home Depot, ones that you have to like order the garden supply thing. They're quite pricey, but they should basically last a lifetime, and are significantly larger, and they're not round or square instead. So I'm actually not going to use it on these. I'm just going to plant them as is in the ground. And if they get too top heavy, I'll just put a stake in next to them and use some plant tie and tie it to the stake. So anyway, that covers the tomatoes I'm growing for the 2025 season. Another thing I'm doing, I think last year I grew 11 tomato plants. I was planning on dropping it down to 9. I'm actually going to drop it down to 8 because the tomatillos, they are not self-pollinating. So if tomatillos, you need to grow 2. If you try to grow 1, you may end up with nothing but flowers, but no tomatillos. And I've heard some people growing only 1, making it work, but if you look it up across the board, it is like basically you need to grow 2. It does not have to be different varieties like cross-pollinating a fruit tree. They just need another plant next to them, around them, to be able to pollinate with each other to produce their fruit. Yeah. So anyway, until next time, I hope y'all have a good day.